Welcome to my LGBT lesbian channel. The series Checkmate, Stripper and Dance for Me are voiced for you in full history. Thank you for your comments, reactions and subscription to my channel. Have a nice day everyone. I sighed heavily while she stared at me somewhat confused. And I do. I'll solve it. Brandon believes in me and has high hopes. That is wonderful. Even you not being a deputy anymore, I believe that this position is just as important. It sure is. There's only one problem. Veronica squinted her eyes towards me. What problem? I looked at both sides, as if searching for someone who had an interest in our conversation. I rested my arms on the desk, leaning slightly forward, to the point of getting closer to my best friend. The wife of the businessman, Collins. She's hot? She asked with a smile. I smiled at Iglesias' naughty and at the same time mischievous expression. Yes, very. Oh, God, you want to screw his wife? That's the problem, I already have. Veronica widened her eyes in pure shock. You are kidding, right? She whispered. I closed my eyes, bringing my fingers to my temples, where I made a light massage. No, he's married to Carla Estrabao. The woman was silent for a few seconds, perhaps thinking about who could be Carla Estrabao, when in a memory flash, Vero touched with the tip of her index finger on her head. The Latina from the threesome? I leaned my body back again, leaning my back against the padded chair. Yep, the one. Vero got up from her chair with a laugh that spread throughout the environment. You are so fucked. Thank you so much. Lauren, you spent the entire month talking about how good in bed that woman is. And let's be honest, you have already slept with a lot of women, but none had this effect on you. I know, fuck, I grumbled as I got up from my chair. She didn't look disconcerted, on the contrary, she liked to see me. I walked slowly to the counter, grabbing one of the black cups with the precinct coat of arms, to pour a good amount of hot coffee. I inhaled the little smoke that came out of the cup, feeling the delicious scent of coffee. One of two things, either she is very naughty or you are crazy. I turned towards Veronica, who was staring at me with an amused look. I bet on both, I said before taking a sip of hot coffee. I think you should stay focused on your work. Did she give you any attention? She spent the day teasing me. Are you sure? Vero, she is too cynical. Maybe you are overwhelmed with everything. Perhaps that night was her bachelorette party, and she enjoyed it with you and Kina. I leaned on the counter, letting my mind wander about Vero's idea. Maybe I was crazy. The rush and the few hours of sleep were making me imagine things that don't exist. Even though her words were clear in my head, I still wanted to believe that I was going crazy. What are you going to do today? The woman asked. I have to go to Colin's dinner. We are going to talk about the case in more detail. What about you? I'm going to enjoy the night. Agent Pinheiro is interesting, and she promised me a few drinks after we get out of here. Her voice tone was excited. I frowned. You barely got here and you are already going out with someone from the police station? At least I'm not going out with the victim's wife, right? Fuck you. Vero let out a laugh and walked away. Now I'm serious, she is fun and pretty. She said she would take me to see a bit of New York, and since I'm new here, I accepted. I hope you have a good night then. I raised the cup as if I was making a toast. I sure will, Yaregui. With delicateness I turned the small button so that the volume increased. My fingers drummed to the beat of the music on the steering wheel of the black Volvo that now was on my command. Commissioner Brandon thought it was fair for me to have my own car, no police cars. Christopher made it clear that he wants total discretion on the investigations of Collins Enterprises' finances. Due to these requirements, I was now in my car, wearing normal clothes, no police uniforms, on my way to one of the most expensive restaurants in New York City. The man with all his might made absolute matter of squandering his financial assets. I was 2 blocks away from the restaurant where the small meeting would take place. I cautiously passed the 2 traffic lights to finally park on the vacant lot in front of the restaurant. I looked at the small mirror, fixing a few strands of hair that insisted on being wild. To then hide my chromed pistol in the holster that was around my thigh, the gun was small and hardly noticeable under the loose black dress that I was wearing that night. I got out of the car, grabbing my black leather jacket from the seat, and putting it on quickly before entering the restaurant. A very well-dressed young man was at the door with an iPad in hand. "Good evening, ma'am. Do you have a reservation?" he asked politely. "Yes, I'm here to meet Mr. Collins." "Oh, please, come with me." The boy slowly led me to a more private area of the restaurant where there was only one table. Sitting at the table was Christopher along with 2 more men, including Commissioner Brandon. I thanked mentally for not seeing Camilla with them. It was a relief to be out of the Latina's line of sight. "Good evening, gentlemen," I said as I approached. The 3 in a chivalrous way got up from their chairs to greet me. "Sit with us, Agent Yaregui," Collins spoke as he pulled the chair beside him. I took off my jacket and delicately sat beside him and another man who I didn't recognize. "This is my lawyer, John." "Pleasure to meet you, Agent Yaregui." "The pleasure is mine." "Well, I chose this more private area so that we can talk about the case. We can have dinner after, do you mind?" "Not at all, Mr. Collins." Brandon spoke politely. "Perfect, John, explain everything." John was a man who appeared to be in his 35. He was white and with blonde hair, cut in military style. His physique showed that he, just like Collins, spent good hours in the gym. He was wearing a gray suit and a light blue shirt inside. "Well, here are the suspicious transactions. I had the job of collecting from the sectors the paperwork in which we saw the irregularity," he said as he delivered a copy to each person at the table. "You can see that the programmed expenses don't include the amount that disappeared. The big problem is that we couldn't get information on who did this, but the person failed. The system was brutally breached, that's why we noticed quickly." "Have you got information about the security program?" I asked. "Yes, it exempted itself from blame. After all, the alert was done normally as soon as the program was invaded." "Do you have any suspect?" "Agent Yaregui, I'm a man who has a lot of financial resources. I'm surrounded by envious people who want what is mine, so it's a little difficult to pinpoint," Collins said seriously. "Yes, I believe that, but I want to know if there's someone interested in harming you." "There are some people, but I don't think it's any of them. This person seems to know my company very well." "Mr. Collins, nowadays we have many criminals who infiltrate networks to get a good amount of money. They don't need to necessarily have any contact with you. But don't worry, I'll gather some agents who are experts in security programs to seek to identify any leads. Do that, you can enter with your team in the company to get what you need." "All right, I'll need the names of the people that have access to the program." I'll talk to all of them. Active employees and those who have been fired. I also want to talk with the company that takes care of this process. You'll have everything you need. The meeting lasted a few more minutes. The case seemed somewhat complicated, since they still didn't have not even one clue to who it was. The only data that was collected didn't identify absolutely anything. Excuse me, the boy that brought me to the room appeared in the doorway. You can come in, Mrs. Cabello. Damn it. I looked away from the door, as if that was going to protect me from her tempting presence, but it didn't last long. Soon Camilla approached the table with a cynical smile on her lips. Good evening to all, she said politely. Oh. If you like that I voiced the continuation of the series Stripper and want me to continue, please like and write a comment on the video. This will be an incentive to continue working on translation and dubbing.